Hello, my name is Professor Henry Silverman, and today I would like to present my abstract entitled Effectiveness of Virtual Live Teaching in Conjunction with Asynchronous Online Activity in Research Ethics for Myanmar Professionals. First, I would like to mention a disclaimer. I have no affiliations with any of the proprietary products mentioned in this presentation. In the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, the inability to conduct face-to-face workshops led to the adoption of the use of the virtual live medium. This afforded the opportunity to transition from passive learning to active learning methods that emphasize student-centered learning. This entailed an emphasis on social and collaborative learning, in which students are able to hear the thought processes of other students, thereby enhancing their learning as well. However, best practices in virtual live teaching need further evidence. Therefore, the aims of this abstract were to determine the satisfaction and effectiveness of virtual live teaching when combined with online asynchronous teaching. Also, our aim was to determine the best practices in virtual live teaching. The next few slides shows our methods that we used. We offered a program in research ethics to a cohort of professionals from NGOs involved in research in Myanmar. This program occurred over a duration of 6 weeks during the fall of 2020. This learning program was a blended program consisting of virtual workshops, 2 hours every week for 6 weeks, combined with asynchronous learning activities on the Moodle platform. This slide shows in further detail the structure of this program. Essentially, there would be virtual teaching for 2 hours every week for 6 weeks, and in between, there would be asynchronous online learning activities. The virtual live sessions use active learning techniques. This consisted of small group discussions via the Zoom breakout rooms, polling and open-ended responses using the software program Mentimeter, which I'll show in just a few minutes, the use of annotation tools on PowerPoint slides by the facilitator and also by the students, back-channel chat room, and collaboration on a digital whiteboard using the Vibe and the D10 whiteboards. The online asynchronous activity were used to enhance the readiness of the participants to engage in the virtual live learning sessions. And the online learning activities consisted of discussion forums and interactive videos using the H5P software and Anoto. Let me ask you a question. At what frequency should there be engagement with the students in the virtual learning platform? Should it be every 20 minutes, every 30 minutes, or every 8 minutes? Well, in order to engage people often, a rule of thumb is to have some form of interaction every 6 to 8 minutes in order to solicit specific regular interaction from the entire class. Now, this slide shows engagement in a face-to-face classroom setting, but one could also have a similar engagement activities in the virtual live setting. One could essentially also ask students to raise their hands. This slide shows an example of a presenter using annotation on a PowerPoint slide. And this slide shows participants annotating on the slide. So one could ask a question, what are the ethical requirements for the review and conduct of research? And you could ask the participants to circle their answers. This slide shows the use of the Mentimeter software. Mentimeter provides the opportunity to do polling with the students, but one could also ask the students to respond, written responses to a question, and one could have a flowing grid of their individual responses. I have found that in the virtual live meeting, a lot of students are somewhat hesitant to voice actively their responses with their voices. And if one asks them to write down their responses anonymously, they are more likely to do that. This slide shows the Anoto interactive video format. Essentially, one could have a discussion among the different respondents around a certain point in the video. The facilitator could make a comment or ask a question that are indicated on a timeline, and the students could provide an answer to those comments, which will be indicated on the timeline as well. Our program was assessed by asking the participants to give feedback to quantitative questions that required a 5-point like it response. And also, we asked them to respond by short answer questions. We sent the respondents a link to SurveyMonkey, and they gave their responses anonymously. We analyzed the data in the following way. We used descriptive statistics of the quantitative data, and we also used the MaxQDA qualitative software program to provide a framework in order to code the short answer responses. The next few slides will show our results. In regards to the virtual workshop, we asked the participants to state their extent of the importance of several activities. A large majority of the respondents either stated that it was very important or important to have the breakout rooms, the polling, annotation on the whiteboard, and the use of the Mentimeter.com software. We asked them to state their extent of their agreement with several statements. A large majority of the participants either strongly agreed or agreed that the virtual live sessions were engaging. The faculty used active learning techniques in the virtual space, and also the breakout room was a worthwhile activity. We asked the respondents to rate the overall activity of the virtual live medium, and a large majority of the respondents gave a rating of either 7 or greater. And the average was a rating of 7.71. In terms of the qualitative data, we use, again, the MaxQDA software to analyze the short answer questions. Now, we use the MaxQDA qualitative software to produce a word cloud of the responses, of the several responses. So we asked the respondents or the students to explain the rating that they gave for the virtual activity. And we see that one major word in the word cloud was learn. So let's look at the responses. So the respondents said, I learned new things with the active participation. I am very satisfied with the virtual learning as you use Menti.com and also breakout sessions, sending the materials in advance. Although it was virtual learning for us, we all felt that we were in a classroom together, learning happily from the professor. The virtual teaching is really satisfactory because of the professor's charisma and the different activities we get to use to learn theories and practices. Now, not everybody was satisfied with the virtual learning. One person said, I prefer face-to-face meeting as it will be more interactive learning and warm relationship between the lecturer and the students. Regarding comments of the virtual teaching, the word cloud of the students' respondents are shown in this slide, and we see that there is a heavy emphasis on the word virtual. So let's look at the responses. These included the following. The advantages of virtual activity are that it saves time to travel to the classroom and that we can learn from our comfortable places. No disadvantages I can think of for this virtual activity. I am really satisfied with this virtual activity. Virtual is not satisfactory to me due to the lack of personal attachment and limited time for discussion. So again, not everyone is perfectly happy with the virtual live teaching. We asked the students, how can the virtual workshop be improved? And let me focus on the word case and the word time, and let's look at the responses. For example, one student said, by giving exercise or case scenario 3 days prior and make sure all participants have studied these cases. This is one way one could improve the virtual medium. Other students said, more usage of Annotate and Mentimeter tool for cases, need to include more case studies. I suggest to include more virtual sessions and discussion. There needs to be better time management in discussion time. So let's look at the analysis of the online asynchronous program. We asked the students to state the extent of their agreement with several statements, and we see that a large proportion of the students said or agreed that the instructor facilitated interactivity and online discussion. The forum promotes student-to-student interaction, and also the forum is an effective activity. Regarding the extent of agreement with these following statements, again, a large majority of the students agreed or strongly agreed that the online activities promote community. It's easy to communicate with my classmates in the online forum, and I am learning online as well as face-to-face. So let's look at the analysis of the qualitative data achieved by the short answer questions. So this slide shows the word cloud from the comments regarding course interaction, and we see a large emphasis on the word discussion, and the responses are, learning with discussion forums is not familiar for us. Also, online learning is a little bit difficult at the beginning. However, in my opinion, it is a very effective way of learning and encouraging the students' self-initiative. I like the discussion forum very much. I also love learning online activities. Research ethics, discussion forum, and assignments stimulate us to learn not only from the given lectures, but also search for more literature online and point out to us that critical thinking topics is important to support research ethics learning. One student said the discussion forum will be enhanced if the instructor provides timely responses and feedback, and if all students respond in time. So what could be improved? There it was a focus on time. And let's look at the responses. I want more time for group discussion. There needs to be better time management. It was a great challenge to be presented within a short time and to be very interactive and in the state of brainstorming. So in conclusion, I think we could say that the blended workshop consisting of virtual and online asynchronous teaching was successful due to overall satisfaction being very high and the use of active learning techniques. However, there needs to be more focus on time management of the activities. And we can also say that future research is needed to assess quantitatively the extent at which participants learn in the virtual medium compared with face-to-face. Thank you very much.